Hello everybody, welcome to my sky diary for January 2021. Let's get out of 2020 as fast as possible and hope for a brighter future ahead of us. Okay, so my sky diary, you can find it on this YouTube channel, so if you find it useful, please subscribe to my channel and also give us a good thumbs up and a like as well. So I know there's people out there who are finding it useful. Of course, it's not just on YouTube as well. It's actually available on a team up calendar. So go to star-gazing.co.uk/diary and you can access the Sky Diary on that web page. But you can also, if you go to the team up website as shown on the web page, you should be able to download the app and install the calendar on the app so you can carry it around with you, so you're always going to be up to date with all the events in the sky. We've also got the Virtual Astronomy Club, which is keeping astronomy sociable in these challenging times, and we meet on the first and the third Tuesday of every month at 7 p.m. Everyone's welcome, so come in and join the fun. The next meeting is the 5th of January, so not long. And then you can get details of how to join in on virtual-astro-club.com. Come along, everyone's welcome. Right, let's have a look what's up in the sky for the month. Of course, you've got the circumpolar constellations dominated by Ursa Major, the Great Bear up here, and the Plough, of course, the 7 stars of the Plough. In the middle, you've got Ursa Minor, the Little Bear, and meandering between the two bears, you've got Draco, the Dragon, with the trapezium-shaped lozenge asterism at the head there. Also got Cassiopeia, the W or M-shaped constellation, very distinctive and always visible from the northern hemisphere from our latitude. And you've got Cepheus, which I always think looks like a child's drawing of a house. Looking towards the south at 10 o'clock at night and the middle of the month, we've got Orion, of course, dominating the view with the 3 belt stars there. I'm not going to go into any great detail of the objects. You've got Gemini, the twins, side by side, holding hands just above Orion. And then below Orion, you've got Canis Major, the great dog, with the brightest star, Sirius, shining away towards the south there. And then above Orion, in the opposite direction, you've got Taurus, the bull, with the fantastic Hyades and the Pleiades star clusters. And then crouching beneath Orion, we got the more or less distinct constellations of Lepus the Hare, and to the right of that you got the northern part of Eridanus the river, which meanders down into the southern hemisphere. And then next to that you got Monoceros the unicorn, which not many people really know, and most people know it from the Rosette Nebula, which lies just here. Okay, these are the constellations looking towards the west, middle of the month at 10 o'clock in the evening, and you can see that the square of Pegasus is actually getting lower and is just about to set, so we're going to lose that quite quickly, followed by Andromeda with the galaxy. You can just about see the Andromeda galaxy line there. Just to the left of that, you've got Pisces, of course. Mars was in opposition in Pisces. It's now moving further up the ecliptic and it's currently in the constellation of Aries and will make its way up towards this direction. Here we've got Perseus, Cetus, and then if we look towards the eastern sky, these are the constellations that are rising. So these are the ones that are going to become more distinct over the next few weeks and months. And of course, they're the spring constellations starting to come into view. We've got Leo here with the sickle of Leo, this backward question mark looking quite distinctive in the sky. We've got Cancer, the crab, over here, and the head of Hydra just up here. And then Coma Berenices just poking up above the horizon. So this is really the realm of the galaxies is starting to rise and is visible in the early hours of the morning if you wait up that long. Okay, the moon, that's going to affect what we can see throughout the month. And of course, it's brightest at the beginning of the month, and the dark period when the deep sky objects come out to play properly is during the middle of the month, and then it's bright again towards the end of the month as it approaches full. So last quarter is on the 6th of January, and then new moon occurs on the 13th of January. First quarter when it's visible in the evening sky is on the 20th of January, and then full moon again on the 28th. There's still Comet Atlas in the sky. Here's the path of it. It was discovered in June of this year, or should I say, if you're watching this in 2021, it was discovered in June 2020. It has been heading north, but it's now slowing down as the distance from Earth and the Sun increases. It was around about 8th magnitude, but it has faded quite a bit since then, and as the distance from Earth and the Sun increases, it's going to get fainter a lot quicker. So here's the constellation of Auriga. This is the bright star Capella, and here's where the comet is on the 1st of January. And actually it's close to Capella between the 1st and the 5th of the month. So here's Capella, and here's where the comet is. So it's moving off in this direction. That's where it will be on the 5th. By the middle of the month, it's going to be just north of Capella, but it will have faded quite a bit by then. And then the end of January, it's going to be a little bit higher. Okay, January the 1st, early morning, the moon is close to the Beehive cluster on New Year's Day. So there it is. There's the moon. And you can see here's the Beehive cluster, but because the moon's just past full, it's not going to be very, very distinct. So a nice wide angle view and a long exposure should reveal the overexposed moon and the cluster as well. And 2nd of January, the Earth's actually its closest to the Sun, a position we call perihelion. And this is the image that I took with my solar can over the last 6 months from solstice to solstice in December. And this is the analemma, which shows the movement of the Earth around the Sun and its change in speed in its orbit. There's a few gaps I need to fill because I missed a few days because of the weather, but it shows this figure of 8 motion of the Sun over in our sky, in the southern sky, throughout the year, as seen from our latitude. 3rd of January, we've got the maximum of the quadrantid meteor shower, and that's a shower active between the 28th of December and the 12th of January. And they reckon there's going to be about 80 meteors per hour, which is what we call the zenithal hourly rate. You're never going to see 80, but that shows you what you should see if the radiant, the position in the sky where the meteors appear to come from, is directly overhead. It does get quite high in our sky, but not at this time of year. The meteors come from northern Bootes, the herdsmen up here, and normally meteor showers are named after the constellation that they seem to appear from, but they're named after the discarded constellation of Quadrans Murals. So that's why they're called the Quadrantids, because they're named after the constellation that used to be in that position. 6th and 7th of January, the moon's going to be near Spica in the morning sky. So here's Spica in Virgo, looking south at about 4 o'clock in the morning. And you can see the moon nearly half phase there, not far from Spica. And the next morning, the moon's moved a little bit further down, and you can see Spica here and the moon there. And it's starting to show a really thick crescent phase at that point. 9th and 10th of January, there's a really thin crescent moon close to Antares in the morning sky, and that's going to be quite low in the southeastern sky. So here's Antares, the bright red rival of Mars star, the red giant star there, and here you can see the nice crescent moon. It should show some really nice earthshine at this stage, but you do need a fairly low horizon to be able to see that towards the southeast. The next day, the 10th of January, it's a lot further down, and you can see a lovely thin crescent, and should be some really beautiful earthshine showing at that stage. So that should be quite nice to look out for, and that's on the 10th of January. On the 11th of January, this is going to be a real challenge. You have to go out a little bit later. This is about 7:45 in the morning. The moon's a little bit higher, but you can see just how thin that's going to be, but it's lost in this twilight. So there's a challenge for you to get up there and have a look for that thin crescent moon with this beautiful earthshine sitting in the twilight in the southeastern sky. So give it a go, see if you can find it. 12th of January, variable star Algol. This is the constellation of Perseus. Here's the Pleiades star cluster here. Here's Cassiopeia just over here in the sword handle, the double cluster in Perseus. And this star here is Algol, which is a variable star. It's known as a demon star. It's been known that for a long time because ancient people knew this star was different. It's easily visible to the naked eye, so you don't need a telescope to actually watch it change. It's usually about magnitude +2, but every now and again it fades to about magnitude +3.4. So that's quite easy to see with the naked eye. So have a look out on the 12th of January about 11:30 and you should be able to see that happen. 14th of January, just after sunset, look towards the southwestern sky. If you're really lucky and got a really low horizon, you could be able to see the Moon, Mercury, Jupiter and Saturn all aligned in the evening sky. But Jupiter and Saturn are going to be very difficult and you do need a very low southwestern horizon to see it. So here's the Moon. It's going to show really thin crescent here. So there's Mercury, which is nearest the Moon. Jupiter a little bit further down, and then down here really low to the horizon is going to be Saturn. So it's going to be a challenge. So see if you can see those, but you do need a really low horizon. That's why I've removed my normal horizon here and put the sea horizon in, which gives me the proper horizon rather than having things in the way that would block my view. On the 15th of January, just after sunset, the southwestern sky, again, the Moon will be very thin. It should look really nice. And you should be able to see Mercury quite nicely. And Jupiter and Saturn, I've put my normal horizon in, and you can see Jupiter's just hidden in the tree here, and Saturn is much further down. On the 15th of January, about 8:10 in the evening, Algol is again at its minimum brightness, so this is another opportunity for you to be able to get out and see that star at its lowest brightness. On the 20th of January, the Moon is going to be south of Mars and Uranus, so here's Mars and here's Uranus. And of course that same night you might be able to see the lunar X and the lunar V. These are quite nice clair obscure effects, and the ideal time to see them is between about 6:30 and 7:30 in the evening. And go to Mary McIntyre's blog, Mary's Astronomy blogs.blogspot.com, and she normally puts the times of the lunar X and the V on her website. So go and have a look and get the latest timings for those. And if you look at the Moon at the right time, you can see here, this is the lunar X, and just up here is the lunar V, taken at the right time. This was taken a couple of years ago. And if we look at that, you can see the lunar X here. This is it just after its best, when it's just starting to break up and disappear into the background as the sun catches it at sunrise. And it's made up of the three borders of craters, Purbach, Licau and Blanchius here. So they make the ramparts of those craters make the X that we see when the sunlight hits them at sunrise. And the lunar V is in the southern part of Mare Varporum, close to Rima Hyginus. So here it is here. Here's the lunar V and here's the Rima Hyginus. And you've got some reasonably identifiable craters around there called Triseneca, Agrippa. I always think that sounds like a wrestler. Godin, Rhyticus and Manilius up here. So easily to find, and the lunar V, but you only last a couple of hours before it starts to disappear into the rest of the sunlit features. So get out there at those times at about 6:30 to 7:30 in the evening and have a look out for the lunar X and the lunar V. Okay, 21st of January, Mars passes north of Uranus in Aries. So Mars and Uranus pass by one another because Mars, being closer to the Sun, is actually moving faster. So it overtakes Uranus as it moves around the solar system. The Moon had moved over a little bit by then. So here's a bit of a closer view. So it might be quite good to get Mars and Uranus in the same field of view with a wide angle lens, and see if you can capture those in the sky as they pass one another. Mars is about magnitude plus 0.24. Of course, it's a shadow of its former self, as it was last year. It has shrunk quite a bit, and the magnitude has dropped quite rapidly as well. But it's still very bright in the evening sky. Uranus is just about naked eye magnitude, just about visible to the naked eye, but it's going to be quite difficult to see if you've got lots of light pollution. But it should come out easily on photographs and should be seen in a small telescope or even binoculars. So while we're talking about that, we'll talk about the path of Mars. So this is the path of Mars during the first half of the year. So you can see here it is on the 1st of January, just going through Pisces. By the 21st of January, it finds itself in Aries. And then the 1st of February, it's moving along the ecliptic. 1st of March, it's just approaching Taurus. And the 1st of April, it's within the horns of the bull, Taurus the bull, right in the middle of the horns there. On the 26th and the 27th of May, it's very close to the open cluster Messier 35 in Gemini. But don't get too excited because the sun is going to be in that position. So Mars is going to be low down in the southwestern sky. So it's going to be quite difficult to see the cluster. But give it a go. You just never know. And then 1st of June, it's up near Castor and Pollux in Gemini. And then finally, it reaches solar conjunction not until the 8th of October, so much later in the year. So we've got another 6 months of it being visible, but it's going to creep steadily closer to the sun. It's trying to outrun the sun in the western sky, southwestern sky after sunset, but eventually it will lose that race and it will reach conjunction on the 8th of October. And the next opposition is going to be 8th of December in 2022. So it's going to take a long time to come back to opposition, but it's not going to be as big or as bright as it was last year. Okay, 21st of January, early hours of the morning, just gone midnight. Algol again at its dimmest, so get out and have another look at this variable star. Easily visible with the naked eye, of course. And then 23rd of January, the moon passes north of the Hyades star cluster in Taurus. So here's the Pleiades and here's the Hyades. So it'll be a strong, bright gibbous moon passing just north of the Hyades star cluster. 24th of January, Saturn reaches solar conjunction. So this is the view on the 22nd of December when we had the conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn in the evening sky. And there's an image that I took through my Dobsonian telescope, which I managed to get out in the car to take a couple of images of it. So here's Jupiter and some of its moons, and there's Saturn and one of its moons, Titan, as well. And that's a background star here. And there was another background star visible that evening too. But of course, Saturn's heading towards the sun. It's going to be invisible for a number of weeks now as it gets closer and closer to the sun, disappears into the twilight. But here's a view taken in 2018, and here's one taken this year, and you can see just how much those rings are starting to close. So over the next few years, as Saturn gets higher and higher in our sky very slowly, those rings should start to narrow quite a bit. This is a view taken in 2007. And this is one I took with a far inferior telescope in 2009 when the rings were nearly edge on. So we know that when it comes out of the twilight, the rings are going to be a little bit narrower than they are when I last saw it. Okay, 24th of January, the same date, Mercury is at greatest eastern elongation. It's going to be 19 degrees away from the sun. So here's the view towards the southwest at about 5:27 in the evening. Because it's at eastern elongation, it's visible in the western sky after sunset. It's low in the southwestern sky, so you do need a fairly low horizon to be able to see it. But look out for it from the 19th of January right the way up until the end of the month. Although 24th is when it's at its greatest elongation, you should be able to see it from the 19th until the end of the month. So keep a lookout for this bright star visible over in the twilight in the southwestern sky a little while after sunset. But don't leave it too long because it will set fairly quickly. 25th of January, the moon passes through the open cluster M35 in Gemini. So here's Orion, here's Gemini with the foot of Gemini, and that's where the cluster is. And if we look a bit closer, you can see that the moon is passing through that cluster. But of course, it's a thick gibbous moon, so it's going to be very, very bright. So it's going to be a real challenge to actually capture some of those cluster members behind the moon at that particular stage. But I'm going to give it a go. Of course, this view from Stellarium shows the jellyfish nebula there. Of course, there's no chance you've been able to get that with the moon so close. Okay, 29th of January, Jupiter reaches solar conjunction, so it's not going to be seen. Like Saturn, it's slipping into the evening twilight and disappearing as we speak. But here's a couple of views, and it's going to take us a good few months for us to get some really good views of Jupiter again. But of course, Jupiter is moving faster than Saturn, so it is getting further up the ecliptic and will be a bit further north each year from now on. So we're looking forward to Jupiter looking better and better as it gets further north. It reaches opposition on the 29th of August, so we've got to wait quite a while for it to be at its very best. But, you know, we can wait. Okay, 30th of January, end of the month, the moon passes north of Regulus. So here's Leo, and here's the sickle of Leo. And then that's it. So don't forget, the Sky Diary is available on TeamUp, and that's at star-gazing.co.uk/diary, where you can access all the dates that I've put on there. And I've also put on some anniversaries of spaceflight events as well. So download it, install the TeamUp app, and then carry the calendar around with you where it's always going to be up to date. And don't forget the Virtual Astronomy Club, keeping astronomy sociable, first and third Tuesday of every month. Next meeting the 5th of January. Everyone's welcome, so come and join us by following the link virtual-astro-club.com. And if you find this Sky Diary useful, I hope you do, please subscribe to my YouTube channel and like the video. Okay, that's all I've got to say for this month, so bye. Thanks for joining us. See you again.